Stop depending on others. Stop depending on others, the path to self-reliance and inner strength. In the intricate and multifaceted journey of personal development, there exists an insidious yet pervasive tendency that can hinder growth, diminish autonomy, and undermine self-worth. The reliance on others. This dependency can manifest in various forms, from emotional reliance to financial reliance, and it often arises from an unconscious belief that our happiness, security, or fulfillment is contingent upon external factors, particularly other people. While human connection is undoubtedly essential for our well-being, there is an unspoken, often unexamined truth that needs to be acknowledged. True empowerment arises from within, and it is essential to cultivate the strength, resilience, and self-sufficiency to stand on one's own. The act of depending on others, whether consciously or unconsciously, can impede the realization of personal potential and hinder the cultivation of self-reliance, an essential pillar of inner strength and confidence. In this chapter, we will explore the dangers of excessive dependency, the psychological ramifications of outsourcing one's power to others, and the crucial steps toward cultivating a life of autonomy, self-sufficiency, and self-empowerment. The psychology of dependency, why we lean on others. The psychological foundation for dependence is multifaceted and deeply rooted in our evolutionary and social conditioning. As social beings, humans have an innate need for connection, collaboration, and belonging. From an evolutionary standpoint, the survival of early human beings was often dependent on group cooperation. Communities were essential for providing resources, protection, and emotional support, and survival often depended on interdependence. This deep-seated evolutionary instinct to bond with others is vital for emotional well-being and collective success. However, in the modern context, this inherent tendency towards social reliance can be misapplied, leading individuals to overdepend on others in ways that can inhibit their personal autonomy. The phenomenon of emotional dependency, the reliance on others for emotional stability, validation, and reassurance can be traced to early childhood experiences. Attachment theory, first proposed by John Bowlby, suggests that early relationships with caregivers significantly shape the way individuals perceive their own worth and navigate interpersonal relationships. Secure attachment fosters independence and self-assurance, while insecure attachment patterns can create a tendency to depend on others to fulfill emotional needs, leading to chronic feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. As individuals move through life, these early patterns of dependency can be reinforced in relationships, whether familial, romantic, or professional. The more one depends on others for validation, security, or emotional sustenance, the more they risk losing their sense of self, becoming entangled in a cycle of perpetual external validation. The consequences of over-reliance on others. Excessive reliance on others, especially when it becomes a habitual coping mechanism, can have profound and detrimental effects on an individual's psychological well-being and personal growth. The most significant consequence of dependency is the erosion of self-worth. When we consistently seek validation, comfort, or approval from external sources, we begin to devalue our intrinsic worth. This externalization of one's sense of value is a slippery slope, leading to feelings of inadequacy, helplessness, and emotional fragility. When individuals depend on others for emotional or psychological support, they may inadvertently relinquish their personal power. This dependency creates a dynamic in which one's emotional equilibrium is subject to the fluctuations of another's moods, actions, or opinions. Rather than being anchored in one's own identity and sense of self-assurance, the individual becomes tethered to the whims of external circumstances, perpetually disempowered by the absence of inner strength. From a practical standpoint, excessive reliance on others can limit personal growth, prevent self-sufficiency, and hinder the development of critical life skills. For example, an individual who depends on a partner or friend to make decisions for them, whether in matters of career, finances, or personal aspirations, may never fully tap into their own capabilities, potentially leading to stagnation and a diminished sense of agency. Moreover, dependency often fosters resentment and frustration. In relationships where one party feels excessively relied upon, there can be a sense of burden or imbalance. This dynamic can create emotional tension, undermining the quality of the relationship itself. Over time, the dependent individual may find themselves increasingly isolated and alienated, as their sense of self-worth becomes tied to others' actions, rather than their own internal sense of purpose. Breaking the chains, steps toward self-reliance. The process of liberating oneself from dependency and embracing self-reliance is not one of abandonment or isolation. It is rather a transformative journey of reclaiming personal strength, fostering resilience, and cultivating an empowered sense of autonomy. The following steps provide a framework for breaking free from the limitations of dependency and forging a path towards self-empowerment. 1. Develop emotional self-sufficiency. One of the first steps towards self-reliance is cultivating emotional self-sufficiency. This involves the ability to regulate your own emotions without constantly seeking validation or support from others. Emotional self-sufficiency does not mean that one should isolate themselves or avoid connection with others. Rather, it means that individuals learn to manage their emotions and find inner peace independently of external circumstances. Practices such as mindfulness, journaling, and meditation can be powerful tools in developing emotional resilience. When you are able to sit with your emotions without being overwhelmed by them or seeking immediate comfort from others, you empower yourself to process and understand your feelings. This fosters greater emotional intelligence and enables you to navigate challenging situations with composure and clarity, reducing the need for constant external reassurance. 2. Cultivate a strong sense of identity. A critical component of self-reliance is self-identity. When individuals lack a clear sense of who they are more prone to seeking validation from others in an effort to define themselves. Cultivating a strong sense of identity requires introspection, self-reflection, and a commitment to understanding one's values, passions, and aspirations. By developing a clear sense of self, individuals can make decisions and set goals that are aligned with their authentic desires, rather than seeking approval from others. One effective way to strengthen one's identity is to engage in self-discovery through activities that bring joy, challenge, and fulfillment. Whether through creative expression, intellectual pursuits, or physical endeavors, cultivating a life that reflects one's true self is an essential aspect of developing personal independence. 3. Embrace the power of decision-making. One of the most significant aspects of self-reliance is the ability to make decisions independently. When individuals habitually rely on others to make decisions for them, they forfeit their autonomy and become dependent on the opinions and judgments of others. Embracing the power of decision-making involves taking responsibility for one's choices and trusting in one's ability to navigate the complexities of life. Start by making small decisions independently, whether choosing what to eat, where to spend your time, or what path to take in your career. Over time, as you build confidence in your decision-making abilities, you will feel more empowered to make larger, more significant decisions that shape your future. Decision-making fosters self-confidence and reinforces the belief that you are capable of navigating life on your own terms. 4. Learn to solve problems independently. Problem solving is an essential skill for cultivating self-reliance. When faced with challenges, it is easy to fall into the trap of seeking immediate assistance or solutions from others. However, problem solving is a skill that can be honed through practice and perseverance. By learning to approach challenges with a mindset of resourcefulness, individuals can develop the tools necessary to overcome obstacles without relying on others to provide answers. Start by breaking down problems into smaller, manageable steps and seeking out creative solutions. By trusting in your ability to find answers, you will begin to develop the confidence to tackle any challenge that comes your way. 5. Cultivate financial independence. Financial dependency is another common form of reliance that can significantly hinder personal growth. The ability to manage one's finances and achieve financial independence is a crucial aspect of self-reliance. Financial independence provides individuals with the freedom to make choices based on their desires rather than being constrained by external obligations or reliance on others. Building financial independence requires education, planning, and discipline. Start by setting clear financial goals, creating a budget, and learning about personal finance. By developing financial literacy and taking control of your financial well-being, you empower yourself to live life on your own terms, free from the constraints of financial dependency. The liberation of self-reliance. The process of ceasing to depend on others is not an abandonment of human connection. Rather, it is the reclamation of personal power and the recognition that true strength lies within. By developing emotional self-sufficiency, cultivating a strong sense of identity, embracing independent decision-making, honing problem-solving skills, and achieving financial independence, individuals can foster a profound sense of self-reliance that allows them to navigate life with confidence, resilience, and purpose. Ultimately, self-reliance is not about rejecting the help or support of others, but about empowering oneself to stand firm in the face of life's challenges. When we no longer depend on others to define our worth, validate our feelings, or dictate our choices, we become the architects of our own destiny. Unshackled from the chains of dependency and free to live authentically and purposefully.